Welcome to the Know, Like, Trust podcast for real estate professionals. In this podcast, you'll discover what it takes to establish know, like, and trust, and connect with the right people for success in real estate. If you're a marketing strategist, real estate agent, or another professional in the real estate space, and you're interested in building a referral-based business, you're in the right place. Here are your hosts, Betty Russo and Christine George.
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Know, Like, Trust podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Christine George.
And I'm Betty Russo. And guess what? Today I'm interviewing one of our very own, Christine George.
Woo, 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 woo. Oh my God.
I'm so excited about this. This is a long time coming. I've wanted to interview you for a while. First of all, I feel like it's so important for all of our listeners to know us, to know who we are. But we have a special twist today. We're not only going to learn a little bit more about Christine and what she does, but we are going to talk about business planning. So Christine recently launched her new company with her business partner, Carrie Edwards. It's called Post and Beam Creative. And they are today's marketing solution for real estate agents. I love it, but they are so much more than that. And we'll touch on that a little bit. But Christine recently just hosted a business planning webinar, and I think it was a hit. Your business planning model is a little bit different, as we were talking about earlier. I just find that you are coaching your followers to take a look within and see who they are as a person before even digging into the numbers, which I absolutely love. So I'm really excited, Christine. Yay! Thank you. How does it feel to be a guest on your own podcast?
I know. Well, I'm also just really excited to be with you because we have not been together for, I think, at least a month.
Yeah.
At least a month between your vacation and then we had my husband had surgery. He'd hate if he knew I was saying that on the podcast, but he's fine. All is fine. But I was in the hospital a couple of weeks ago when you were interviewing Will. And so I'm really excited to be back with my bud, with my friend, with my co-host, and talking about business planning, because it is something that is really near and dear to my heart. It is something that I have been doing my entire career. And it's funny that I only recently, like in the last probably 3 or 4 years, realized how valuable it was to the real estate space. I just kind of did it with some agents, and I know I'm getting off script here. And realized in the beginning of doing that, like how many agents just don't do it. And so it has kind of become my little signature thing in the fall. And so I'm excited to chat about it.
Yeah, well, so you're taking away some of my talking points, which is so great because that just shows, how in sync we are about this topic. I, for one, never enjoyed business planning until recently. I'm really now starting to dig in. So I love what you're teaching. It really adds value to what I'm doing. And I think a lot of people will like it too, because it is somewhat different. So before we start talking about that, Christine, though, give us your best Post and Beam 30-second elevator pitch. Tell everyone what Post and Beam is all about, this story behind this new creation of yours.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm so excited about Post and Beam. Essentially, we are real estate's marketing and design solution. And what that means is that we provide design talent and design services to real estate teams and brokerages. And then we also provide marketing strategy to real estate agents, teams, and brokerages. We do the design work through our design team, headed up by Carrie Edwards, my business partner, who is an unbelievably talented designer. And then the marketing strategy piece is kind of my wheelhouse, where I provide strategy like, business planning, marketing planning, tools to help agents promote their businesses, all through our online members only resource called Raise You, which is essentially our university. So marketing strategy, design services, and that is Post and Beam. And we love working in the real estate space. So that's essentially who we are. So excited to be on my own as a business owner. It's exciting.
Yeah, so you really took a nice leap of faith by leaving your past position. You were working for a real estate company in a similar role, except now you're doing it on your own.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I got the entrepreneurial bug when I came to work for real estate. I mean, my background is completely corporate America, consumer products, goods. I grew up under, learning, big company discipline, big company systems, operations, things like that. When I came into the real estate space, it is nothing like any other industry out there. And I honestly fell in love with the agents and brokers because you are essentially running your own business. I like to say, like, you're the chief cook and bottle washer, you're doing everything. And you have to, it's not easy work. Anybody who comes, I love it when people come into the real estate space and think it's like, you can make easy money. You can't. It's hard.
You love that?
It's hustle, it's grit, it's smarts, it's so, it takes commitment and grit. And it's also, it can be very rewarding. And I've seen so many amazing people in my 16 years in this business. And so I said, I think it's time for me to take that leap and take a risk. And so here we are.
And that leads me into why business planning is so important, Christine. Why do you think it's so important? I mean, you touched on a few things. People hop into this field thinking things are so easy, but it's really not that easy. The business is not just going to land in your lap. You have to go out and get it. But I mean, I'm recently learning that it's essential to have a business plan in place so that you can go out and do everything that you need to do. There's just so much going on in this business and so many things coming at you and so many things to learn, and how do you do it all? So what are your thoughts on that, on having a good business plan in place?
Well, I think it's super important. And here's what I'll tell you. In my personal experience, agents who put a business plan in place and then execute on it, they grow their business 25 to 50% transaction wise. I mean, that is huge, huge growth, right? And it's exactly what you're talking about, Betty, which is when you put a business plan in place, you actually know what you're going to do and how you're going to actually go out there and get the business. And when you do that, the business comes. So I think it's really, really important. If you want to grow, if you want to have a long-term sustainable business, you absolutely have to plan year over year over year. The unfortunate reality is that most agents don't do a business plan every year. They don't set goals. Yeah, right? Because we're salespeople.
I've been guilty of that. I have been in the past.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's not fun. It's not fun. It's like you got to get down and you have to reflect on what you've done, how far you've come, where you want to go. Like, it's a whole process. It can be fun though. It can really be fun when you start to understand the story of your business. And also it really helps you when you're out with clients or prospective clients to be able to speak so much more fluently, eloquently, articulately to people about your business when you actually know what you're doing. We just don't slow down long enough to just reflect on where we've been. But it's a really cool thing. And like I said, if you want to have a long-term sustainable business that is growing, you absolutely have to invest your time in a business plan. And this, the fall, October, November, this is the time when most agents will, sit down, roll up their sleeves and do it. So that's my story about the why. It's really, it's so that you can grow and grow in a way that you want to grow. Here's the other thing I'll tell you is I kind of think it's like if you want to go to Disney World, right? I've been saying this a lot lately. Let's say, our goal as a family this year is we want to go to Disney World. Well, you can put that goal up on a wall, but it's never going to happen unless you put a plan in place to get there. Like, you have to know, are you going to drive? Are you going to fly? Are you going to take the train? Where are you going to stay? Like, you would never say you want to go to Disneyland and then not think about how you're actually going to get there. So your business plan is the exact same thing. You want to do 20 transactions next year. Great. You need a plan to get there.
Right. Well, one of the things that you said, and I just want to quickly touch on, it's going to lead us into the next topic, is you talked about how people don't really take enough time to sit back and reflect. And we've been talking about that a lot recently, how, sometimes you just need a timeout even to just sit back and look within and see who you are and see what you want out of life. And, what are your goals? And we're just always on such a crazy roller coaster all the time. And that's why people we don't even think about it. We don't have time to think about, let's just sit down and relax and think about what we want out of life, and that's so important. And that's why I love the workbook that you created that goes hand in hand with your business planning. You start with not only figuring out who your ideal client is, but who are you as a realtor, as a person? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Why do you feel that it's important to figure out who your ideal client is? Why do you feel that it's important to know, what you're good at, what you are not good at? And how does this all incorporate into your business plan?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I kind of look at the business plan in like 3 buckets. The first bucket is just what you're saying. It's like understanding who your market is, who your audience is, understanding your strengths, what your opportunities are. That's sort of, that's the reflective piece, right? Like, that's the grounding foundational piece of your plan. The next piece is your numbers. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit. So that's a really important piece. And then the last piece is, okay, what are the activities, the tactics you're going to put in play to actually reach your goals? So when we talk about sort of this upfront piece, it's really the foundational piece of your plan. So you want to make sure you're clear as to what your niche is, who are you actually serving? And to be honest, Deborah Traprin said it a couple of weeks ago when I was on the Woman Up Wisdom Series live cast. She said, your niche is really who you hang out with and what you do every day, right? So, and it completely makes sense. For you and I, Betty, we are, we're not millennials, right? We're Gen Xers, right? So chances are our niche is going to be people who are looking to think about downsizing, right? Or buying a second home. We're probably not looking at first-time home buyers necessarily, the millennials. That's not to say you won't service those clients. Mm-hmm. You will, and you do, but you can't be all things to all people. And so It's really important when you put your activities in play that you're focused towards a certain audience. The others will come in. They'll come in because you're going to get referrals. You're going to work 50 miles outside of your market because you have a really good friend or family member who wants you and only you to list their home. But, in order to stay focused and go where you want to go, you want to really focus your activities around your niche, which is usually, who you are, what you're involved in, who you hang out with, and what you do every day. So that's the first piece. The second piece is the SWOT analysis, which is one of my favorite pieces. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I'm not going to go into this whole thing, except to say that one of my biggest tips as it relates to doing a SWOT analysis is to really understand what you're good at and put things in place that are going to help you get even better at what you're good at. So why a lot of us, I think, sort of tend to say, oh, I'm not really good at the numbers. I got to get better at the numbers. And so you invest this time and you resources in getting better at the numbers. And honestly, like A, you hate it. And B, you're never going to be that great at the numbers. Let's just face it, right? So focus on what's already a strength and making it even better. Let somebody else do the other stuff. And that's a really important part of this process, is understanding what you don't love to do, what you're not great at, and delegating that out to the people who that is their strength. So that's really important. The last piece I'll say about this is, we are in the real estate space. We could be working 9 to 5, not 9 to 5, 24/7, right? 24/7. We could be if we wanted to be, because that is the kind of business that we're in. And that just throws us completely off kilter. So I am a big believer that when you're putting your business plan in place, don't forget your personal growth plan.
Yes.
Because that is going to ensure that you time block, that you create boundaries, and that you are also focused on reaching your own personal goals. So that helps to bring the balance in when you are also, putting your personal goals in place together with your business goals. We're not two different people, right? We're one person, and these things are integrated. And so we have to behave just like that, as an integrated whole person.
That makes so much sense. I mean, and not until recently have I seen personal goals be brought into a business planning, activity, because it's usually all about business. But I love how you're incorporating, creating your own goals in order to be able to create those boundaries. You can't think of your life as just, I'm a realtor. Like, obviously we are a realtor, and becoming a realtor, it gets ingrained into who we are as a person. And that's wonderful. But there's more to us than that. Mm-hmm. So I agree. This is such an important part of the process. So, yeah. And I love how you explain it. And this is part of the fun part too, I think. Yes. Anyway. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I love how you make it fun. So let's talk money. We touched on the fact that real estate doesn't fall in your lap like some people think, that you have to go out and get it. For new agents, it could be a little daunting because there are certain things that we do to attract business that are costly, can cost us some money, and maybe that's not in the budget right now. What activities do you suggest for any agent, actually, but that new agents can really grasp onto to start generating some income without having those crazy big marketing expenses?
Yes, great question. So one of the questions that I get asked often is, how much how many marketing dollars should I be investing in my business? And as a marketer, you might think that I would say, oh, you need to spend, $10,000 on, advertising, and that's actually not the case. As a benchmark, if you want to benchmark, if, some people are all about the numbers, right? You need a benchmark. A benchmark would be 5 to 10% of your gross commission income. But I say, take that with a grain of salt, right? Like, if you're a huge agent, or if you are a team leader with a very large team, well, then it makes sense to go and look at 5 to 10% of your gross commission income, because, you've got a team that you need to support, right? Or you've got a larger business that you need to support. You need to bring in an administrator, or, a social media marketer, whoever it might be. However, if you're an individual agent, and especially if you're an agent who's been in the business 3 or fewer years, I say don't spend any money. Don't spend any money. You want to invest your time and your resources in nurturing those relationships, building new relationships and nurturing the relationships that you already have. And, you and I know this better than anybody. The biggest, most effective investment you can make is building trust, earning trust and likability from people so that they will either work with you or refer you. And there's so many ways to do that. Brian Buffini's, traditional ways of writing personal notes and making calls and drop-bys, pop-bys, as he calls them. Those are all wonderful things. We also have this amazing thing called social media,
yeah.
right? All of these socials, like I say to people, because they get intimidated, right? Like, I don't want to do video. I don't know how to make a reel, like whatever it might be. Forget about all that stuff. Forget about all that stuff. Spend 50% of your time engaging in conversation on social media. It is a social
jungle.
Right? It's a jungle, right? It's like a cocktail party. So it is an opportunity to network and build relationships. Follow people you find interesting and engage with them. That is like by and large the best way to build your business. And always, always, always scrub your database. Make sure you are thinking of anybody and everybody who you interact with and putting them in your database so that you can talk to them and then talk to them. And here's the other thing I'll say, Betty, you don't have to talk about real estate. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go on and like give tips. Yes, that's great. And you should do that. But if you're new and you don't have the confidence to go out there and talk real estate, just go out there and talk you be you, just get to know people, allow them to get to know you. That's how you're going to earn the trust. And that little piece of trust is going to make them more apt to listen to you when you do go out there and put a video about real estate, when you do put a listing up on your social media. When you have people's trust, when they like you and they can relate to you, they're definitely going to be willing to listen to you. And if they listen to you, then they might even refer you some business. So,
a few things about that. If I can put my 2 cents in, when it comes to your database, and I know this because just recently I've really started dissecting my database and reaching out to people that I haven't talked to in a long time. And you would be surprised. I was surprised. I got replies from people and responses, and we have had conversations that I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe like this person is happy to hear from me. Like we haven't talked in years, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. They love it. So you would be surprised the number of people that that you haven't spoken to in a long time that are fond of you, that like you, that enjoy you and want to talk to you. I mean, everybody goes on about their own lives. People are busy, but that doesn't mean they don't know you anymore. They know you, they see you. And it's so, not even in regard to, business planning, but just in general, like reconnecting with those people. Yes. It's such a great feeling. It really, really is. And
it totally is. And they're always going to ask you, how's the market?
Yeah.
How's the market?
Yeah.
So it will always come back to real estate because everybody wants to know, oh, how much is my house worth? Oh, hey, Betty, my neighbor sold their house for, X. And do you think I could get that much? It always comes back to real estate.
Always.
Yeah.
So for those agents that have been in the business a little bit longer and they're ready to put, some money behind their marketing, what type of activities do you recommend there?
Yeah. So I think it always depends on what your goals are, right? So first and foremost, you've got to build those relationships and maintain those relationships. So put the systems in place that are going to allow you to do that efficiently. That's really important. And sometimes that means hiring somebody, your marketing investment may be bringing somebody on to help you take some of the stuff off of your plate so you can go out there and make rain, because that's what you're good at. So that might be, one, tactic. Another tactic might be, and this is completely on the opposite side, what if you want to farm a certain neighborhood? Well, that is a completely set of different tactics. That might be a consistent monthly direct mail campaign. That might be a postcard campaign. It really varies based on what your goals are. But I would always start with your database. Always start with your database. And if you find that you are not keeping in touch with your database because you are so busy, then it might be time to put some systems in place, which might be some, investing in software, a great CRM, something like that.
Yes.
It might be that you're spending way too much time on Canva, doing your listing collateral. And, maybe that's where you bring Post and Beam Creative in to do your listing collateral for you. Or maybe it means bringing an administrative assistant on, even if it's 20 hours a week, to take some of that off of your plate. Always start with your database and making sure that you are touching base and that you have the systems in place to service those. Because ultimately, that is where your business is going to come from.
So you're all about know, like, and trust. Surprise, surprise. And adding leverage to your business. And there's more than one way to do that, by using systems and definitely adding on people to help as need be. I love it. All of those things make such a huge difference. It's life-changing, honestly.
Yes.
So tell me about stop, start, and continue. I found that to be really interesting. I never thought about that. Maybe I did subconsciously, but I love that you brought that to light.
Yeah. So we do stop, start, continue as part of sort of the foundation of your plan. And that really is taking a look back at your last 12 months and looking at what worked and what didn't work. And so, you want to look at the things that you did that really didn't get the return on investment. And those would be considered things you want to stop doing. Then you want to look at the things that you did that actually did give you a good return. And those would be things you want to continue to do. And then maybe there's an opportunity to go into a new market, or there's an opportunity to, touch base with your sphere in a different way. Those might be things that, you want to start to do. And a lot of that comes to light after you've done the SWOT analysis, right? The strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, because then you realize, wow, you really see what your opportunities are. And a lot of what you're going to consider start doing actually comes from the opportunities that you find in doing that SWOT analysis. So it's a great exercise to, just get your brain thinking about what the tactics and the activities are going to be in your plan.
Awesome. All right, let's talk numbers. I've always hated that terminology. Like, real estate is a numbers game. I mean, it's so much more than that, but the numbers definitely, play into the business planning, and for a good reason. I mean, once you put your goals down on paper and once you know what your, marketing activities are going to be, I think it's so important to track what you're doing, not only your numbers, but everything that you're doing, so that you can know that you're on the right path or you're not, and how you need to tweak whatever you're doing and what you need to do. What are your thoughts about tracking numbers? What else do you recommend tracking?
Yeah. Numbers play a really important part. And I am not a numbers person. Numbers don't come easy to me. And, the longer I don't, work with numbers, I feel like the worse my brain is as it relates to numbers. But Here's what I will say. The numbers tell a story about your business. So when we do our business planning workshop, we look at your source of business, want to know exactly where every transaction came from. You always want to aim for having 80% of your business come from your sphere of influence. That will ensure that you are more like this instead of like this. So source of business is important. You want to know what you did in the last 12 months. How many transactions on the sell side? How many transactions on the listing side? What does that equate to in terms of volume? What was your average sale price? What was your average commission per transaction? Those are the things that you want to know so that you can understand what percent of business was list versus sell. Where did that business come from? Let's say you're in a service area where the median income or the median price point is $1.5 million, and you're coming in at 700,000. Well, gosh, you're in the market, so you're underperforming. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to go after business at a higher price point. It all depends on what your goals are, but all of these things tell a story about your business and help you to understand where you want to put your focus in the next year. So, the next step really is, what are your goals? What's your gross commission income goal? What does that mean in terms of transactions based on your average sale price? So, really important to understand, okay, if I want to make $200,000 next year, let's say, I know I'm going to need 18 transactions to do so. And so what does that mean in terms of, my activity? How do I actually go about getting those 18 transactions next year? So it all, like, one piece leads right into the next piece and helps you. By the time you get to your activities, which is the last part of the process, you pretty much know exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it because you've done all the upfront work. So it's a pretty cool process.
How do you recommend that people stay on track with following their plan throughout the year? That's always been the hard part for me.
Yes, phenomenal question. So the very first thing that I always recommend, I think it's really important, is to find an accountability partner. Someone who is accountable and someone who is going to make you be accountable. And maybe you meet with that person on a monthly basis and you keep each other accountable. Did you do these things this month that you said you were going to do in order to get to your goal? And honestly, you and I are accountability partners, and that is one of the most beautiful things about this podcast is, we keep each other accountable to getting the things done that need to get done to produce this show.
Absolutely.
It's no different, right? And you've got to find somebody you trust, and somebody who, is not afraid to tell you, hey, you didn't pull your weight this month. You have definitely got to do these things. And, you don't want to waste somebody's time. They don't want to waste your time. So make sure that you're making the best of it. And then simply, track as part of our business planning spreadsheet. There is a track your numbers tab in that. And it's as easy as, putting your closings in there every single month so that you can actually see on paper, where am I tracking versus my goals? So it's a little bit of both. But accountability is super important because this can be a really lonely business, when we're working by ourselves.
It could be. Thank goodness, though. There's, a lot of opportunity to connect with some amazing people.
Yes.
And doing a lot of these activities that you recommend really helps on that front. So you mentioned the tab about, clicking on it and being able to fill in your numbers. What I love about your business plan, one of the many things, is that it's all there for you. All you really have to do in all of these things that we talked about is plug your information in. We're not reinventing the wheel. It's very spelled out and it's very easy to follow and it's very user friendly. So that's incredible in itself. So kudos on that. I absolutely love it. So we're going to wrap up soon, but don't forget, you're a guest on our podcast today. And I need to wrap up just like I do with any other guest, just like we do with any other guest. So you gave us a lot of information today. What 3 action items do you recommend for our listeners that they can implement right now to help with their business and their business planning?
Well, first and foremost, do a business plan. If you want to grow your business, do a business plan every fall, October, November, December, get it done. Secondly, I would say, find yourself an accountability partner, somebody who, is willing to sit down with you and work on a plan, their plan while you're working on your plan. Super helpful to do it with somebody else. And then the third thing I would say is, I just lost my train of thought. The third thing I would say is, if you're interested and you need some course materials, of course, we have them at Post and Beam. And so, we do have them available and accessible to folks who are in our Raise You online members only resource. And so if you're interested in that, definitely let me know and you can have access to those.
Awesome. So before I ask you the last question, I'm going to jump ahead to where can people find you besides here on the podcast and the website?
Yeah. So people can find me at Christine Carlo George is my handle on all the socials.
And Post and Beam.
Post and Beam is postandbeamcreative.com. Definitely check us out. See if we're a good fit for you. And email is Christine at postandbeamcreative.com.
And you have, you're on IG also at Post and Beam, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Post and Beam Creative is on all the socials as well.
All right. And so if people are interested in doing your business plan, what do they do?
Yeah. So they can go to postandbeamcreative.com. They can go to the pricing page and we have, a monthly membership program where you can have access to not only the business planning course materials, but also all of our checklists and our guides and, all of our planning tools and our marketing tools are available there too. All of our videos are archived there. And we bring people in from around the country every single month to do webinars on marketing for real estate. So it's chock full of great, information if you're interested.
Ooh, actually, we have a very nice conversation coming up.
We do.
On Post and Beam.
We do.
Yeah.
So next week, Tuesday, Betty and I are actually doing a webinar on how to create a podcast. And let me just tell you, oh my God, it's going to be so fun. So definitely we'll put the link in the show notes if you want to, if you want to register. I highly recommend. We have an unbelievable e-guide, which provides a step-by-step process on how to create a podcast. And we will be essentially presenting that on our webinar next week. It's Tuesday the 15th at 1:00 Eastern, 10:00 Pacific. Again, we'll put the link in the show notes, and it'd be great if people want to register. It's going to be a lot of fun. Amazing. It's free.
Yeah. Awesome, Christine. So take us home. Know, like, and trust.
Oh my God. Know, like, and trust is the secret to building a successful real estate business.
150%.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. This has been great. I always love talking to you, but talking to you like one-on-one about something that you're doing is just incredible. I love everything you're doing. You and Carrie, you have this down, and I'm so excited for everything that you're bringing to the real estate community. So thank you. Thank you,
my friends.
For anyone who is listening, or I should say for everyone who is listening, watching, however you're taking this in, I hope you enjoyed our show today. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to coming to you again in a few weeks. Definitely, hop on our show at Post and Beam. We would love to see you on how to create a podcast. And if you love our podcast, we'd love it if you'd give us a review. Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
Ciao, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you like this podcast, we'd love it if you subscribe and leave a review. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, please reach out to Christine or Betty on social media for consideration. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Please join us next time for another insightful conversation on incorporating know, like, and trust into your business.